Confused.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Something Super Podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Mark.
And I'm John.
And guys, this week we're going to be hosting my buddy Sal. Sal, say what's up.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? How we doing?
So Sal is one of the biggest Spider-Man fans I know, so we had to bring him on for the No Way Home breakdown. It's been a little over a week after this movie came out, and now we really want to dive deep. We've all done our research. We've checked out our Easter eggs. We've seen a little bit of everything that we're going to see from this movie. So, some fan theories about the multiverse, and we'll go from there.
There will be spoilers.
Oh, they're absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but there is going to be spoiler alerts. If you've listened to this far, you already know it's No Way Home.
I like saying things just so I know it was said.
Yeah. This is your disclaimer, please.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Don't be mad at us.
Don't be those people that hear it and then you just ignore it. And then you're like, well, I didn't know. Spoiler alerts. 3 out of the 4 of us have said it so far.
Yes. All right. So, Sal, since you are the Spider fanatic, hit me with your thoughts and feelings on this movie.
All right. You got it. Well, first, I just like to say, I'm excited to be on the show. I've been listening for, over a year now. So it's kind of cool to be a part of the action. Just first thoughts of Spider-Man, it was, 10-year-old me and 24-year-old me is the same, just amazing movie, just from top to bottom, just fantastic. I loved it. I'm going to go see it again with my mom and my sister this week. It was all around amazing.
Yeah. I've already seen it twice. I tell you, it is worth going to see again. I saw Eternals. I can say wait until that comes out on Disney Plus, but this movie is something that if you have the time, take the time out and go see it again.
1,000%. Just from the first time you see it, the theater screaming at everything that pops out the first time. You miss kind of those little quips and the one-liners. So definitely go again for sure. So
absolutely. Mark, what are your you had some hot takes on this. We've had quite a few conversations, especially at the little Christmas party we had. So hit me.
So obviously I feel like this movie is not without its plot holes.
Sure.
It is a Marvel movie that's early in a phase. So I'm understanding that. I kind of got away from me the first time me and my fiance went to watch it. I mean, as far as a movie, it's visually stunning. I mean, the last time you saw something that was this kind of wild was probably the last Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
As far as just the visual effects, kind of the ins, the outs, when they're fighting each other, Spider-Man slinging through houses or when he's on the train, he separates the whole, they're in the mirror dimension or whatever.
Yeah.
It literally, so up until literally the post-credit scene, I thought it was probably top 3 Marvel movie ever. Obviously, for me personally, Infinity War, still number 1. Number 2, still Iron Man OG. And number 3, obviously, Winter Soldier. Those are my top 3, and they're probably, I think, the 3 heaviest hitters in the Marvel whole cinematic universe. I would put this one down top 5, mainly because, you, Sal, you're a Spider-Man fan. Well, I'm a Venom fan. So,
okay.
So seeing Venom only come in for 2 post-credit scenes really pissed me off because it's don't yank my chain like that. Because I was really excited to see Tom Holland interact with Tom Hardy. And the fact that he was basically just getting a Marvel Cinematic Universe breakdown from the bartender while he's shit-faced, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And that's my first plot hole with it, is how did that little piece of the symbiote stay if the rest of it got sucked away? Shown only that Brock got sucked away and the symbiote as a whole remained. But no, as far as the movie itself goes, I mean, I felt like it fell into the same trap that I thought it was a better movie that fell in the same trap as Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire. Lizard did literally nothing but chase them around for 4 minutes. And Sandman was just kind of the moral compass on the fence, which he was in Spider-Man 3, but I felt like they tied off his whole story so well that I feel like they should have went with either Scorpion or maybe bring in Hobgoblin, since you had Green Goblin. And if you're going to have that kind of duality between your group of villains, maybe Hobgoblin is the voice of reason Harry was, but maybe it's not actually Harry. I know people are saying Ned, but come on.
Yeah.
I don't think Ned's gonna be Hobgoblin. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Sal, because I don't really read the Spider-Man comics. Hobgoblin doesn't have magic, right? He's tech.
No, I think he's just, I don't really know too much about Hobgoblin. I kind of just was reading the stories on Reddit like the next couple of days how like the theory is Ned. But yeah, he's just tech from what I know.
And that's what I thought, because I was seeing Ted going more like obviously in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, and we'll have an episode about that trailer coming up. But as like you see, obviously, Modor was that his Modor, right? Was the original sidekick. Like you see, he's going to be the villain. So like I think Doctor Strange is still
Mordo.
I feel like Doctor Strange is still trying to do that, because even he was kind of impressed when he was like, "Who opened the portal?" And Ned's like, "I did." He's like, "You did." And Ned, like, then there was the whole scene in the kitchen with like, "Oh, magic's been in my family." So I think he's either going to tie into Doctor Strange somewhere down the line or Shang-Chi down the line.
Okay. I think that'd be awesome. John, give me some first thoughts, feelings.
All right, man. I gotta say, the Spider-Man was awesome. I mean, the ratings. I don't really pay attention to the ratings for like Rotten Tomatoes or anything like that, because we've seen it to where they've gotten it wrong, and the actual audience loves a movie when they say it's terrible, and then the movie's great when the audience is saying it's terrible. And frankly, I'm telling you right now, the ratings experts got it on par. They're saying it's the best Marvel movie. I'd have to agree with Mark that that Endgame is probably. You said Endgame was the
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah,
I think Endgame probably would have been a little bit better, but I agree that there's at least a couple Marvel movies that might be ahead of it, but I don't know, man. It's definitely top 3 in my mind. In the MCU universe. Now, with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they kind of brought them into that aspect of things. It's not their universe, but they brought it into the multiverse, which is great. So I don't think you can really put them into Marvel movies as a ranking, because they were more Sony at the time anyway.
Sure.
That's the Sony universe, and it really is the MCU universe. But when it comes down to Spider-Man rankings altogether, I have to say I like Spider-Man 2, but I think they're tied. Honestly, I like the classics. I like the classic Tobey Maguire. I think that was awesome. The way Tobey Maguire, you could tell that in that movie he was in it.
Well, I mean, I think we all agree Spider-Man 2 is like the pivotal point for like superhero movies as a whole. Like that's what you want to aim for. You want that villain that has that actual drive, and not just like, oh, like I just have this ulterior motive thing. Like he actually wanted to like save the world, and you felt for Doc Ock. You had Spider-Man that actually went through real struggles. Like he gave up the suit in that movie. Like,
yep.
And I love how they reference the whole spider block in No Way Home. And they're like, "Man, you ever have a spider block?" And like, and they're like, "Well, yeah, kinda. Not my web shooter, because I don't." He's like, "What's a web shooter?" I was like, "Well, I've had a spider block, but not in the web shooter." And that's where they go into the whole. He actually shows it coming out of his wrists, and they all freak out. Oh my god!
So I want to piggyback something really quick off of you guys, just before I forget. With you and that conversation they were having about like, have you ever had spider block? There was another conversation they also had where they were talking about aliens that they fought.
Right.
Do you think that was a hint that Venom and Morbius are going to be in Andrew Garfield's universe, and we are going to get the Amazing Spider-Man 3 where maybe Tom Hardy goes up against Andrew Garfield? Because
that would be awesome.
I have to say yes.
Because Venom is name dropped in the Morbius trailer, so that has to put them two in the same universe. We know that we had Eric Foreman Topher Grace was Venom in Tobey's. So obviously, I don't think Tom Hardy would be in Tobey's. He just got kicked out of Tom Holland, so there's only, unless they come up with a Miles Morales somewhere,
which would be fan-frickin-tastic, by the way.
I mean, they dropped that Easter egg, but so. That's actually a plot hole I wanted to talk about. And I know, Sal, I talked to you, and I believe I talked to Mark about it as well. Jamie Foxx did not know who Andrew Garfield was. So how did he end up in Tom Holland's universe? Because only people who knew who Spider-Man was were supposed to be there. he even says, he's like, you're from Queens, you help poor people, you're in this suit. I just assumed you were black. Like, he had no idea who Peter Parker was. So that was like the whole gist of the spell. Also, we can run the same thing for how did Venom end up there? Because he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. He lives in San Francisco. Lives on the other side of the country.
Right, he even says that guy, like in the post credits.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Well,
Yeah,
okay. So to kind of piggyback on that, like maybe you see it in the multi-universe trailer for Doctor Strange that we're going to be seeing a Dark Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's Strange Supreme from What If.
Yep.
Right. So we don't know whether or not that's that Doctor Strange actually knows Peter Parker. Therefore, maybe it's not. Maybe he screwed up the spell altogether. I mean, they definitely recognize that he forgot a little bit of the spell when doing the spell to actually wipe everybody's memory that knows Peter Parker. But maybe he just really screwed it up altogether.
I mean, I have a stretch explanation, and I mean, I say it's a stretch.
All right, hit me.
So the only thing I can think of is that Electro, he's giving the explanation that he wasn't dead yet. He was just down in like the circuitry and everything. Well, what's her face? Emma Stone straight up just wrecks him with a car like moments prior, and she calls him by his name. She says Peter Parker. Now, I can say I know Ben Roethlisberger is the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't know Ben Roethlisberger. So maybe he just heard Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And by that, it's like he knows Peter Parker is Spider. He may not know who Peter Parker is, but he knows that the identity.
Sure.
So like that's like I said, it's a stretch.
Now, now I can kind of piggy on that. Like I'll agree with your. I'll see you hearing the name and raise you. Does that mean they have to? Because like every other villain knows their face.
Right.
So that's my only like flip side to that is every villain except Electro could easily pinpoint them in a lineup.
Right. And then you see like Rhino coming in like when the multiverse was breaking, like you see his shadow coming in, like he doesn't see Garfield's face, right? Like he doesn't know it's Peter either.
But also I did like that you brought up Rhino because it wasn't the same, wasn't Paul Giamatti Rhino. Right. It was like the classic comic book.
Yes.
And that was my thing too, is it's not necessarily that they know those three Spider-Men's identities. It's that they know the identity of their own Spider-Man. Yeah. So that's why Rhino was probably Shadow, because he may know in his reality that Peter Parker or Gwen or Spider-Pig or whoever is his Spider-Man or woman or whatever. He may know their identity.
I do like the fact that Jamie Foxx did drop that Miles Morales Easter egg for us about the black space. There's probably a black Spider-Man somewhere out there, right?
It's like, I thought you were black.
But I'm definitely looking forward to that because if we can get a live action Miles Morales, even as a, if you've noticed that Phase 4, and we've had this conversation about like the Hawkeye and stuff like that, like we're slowly getting their like quote unquote sidekicks stepping into the spotlight. So Miles Morales trains under Spider-Man. So maybe that's Tom Holland's last couple movies. It's going to be him, and he signed on for 3 more. At least that's the rumor. Maybe in the second one, his 5th movie, we get introduced to Miles, and then he slowly trains him up to take over the mantle of Spider-Man.
So to piggyback off that, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think he's alone. He's got nobody. He's going to college, right? I think that Mark might love this theory that Venom might go to New York, a little symbiote, because Tom Holland is alone. He's going to college. He's at a dark point. He meets Venom. Maybe like he gets the Venom suit kind of thing. And then like he senses Miles, because there's a whole trilogy where he knows like nobody knows him. So they can basically do whatever they want. Right. So I'm thinking maybe like, Venom gets thrown into the picture. Maybe I definitely think Miles will be thrown in the picture because in the first Spider-Man with Tom Holland, he says, who's it? Childish Gambino. He says like, hey, my nephew lives here. So like he might be the Prowler kind of thing.
Well, that is the current running theory.
Yeah. And then, maybe something happens where Ned actually becomes Hobgoblin because he doesn't know Peter. And in the movie, when they're in the science lab, they were saying, like, would you kill me? Would you ever try to kill me kind of thing? Because remember, he said like your best friend tried to kill me or something.
Yeah.
So maybe he could be that. And then Tom Holland's Peter Parker will be like, oh, let me go talk to Strange. Like, maybe I need to correct this. And then he goes there, but then, nobody knows what the hell is going to happen in Doctor Strange too. So it's a whole, like,
I
the
have
whole,
theories
everything's
about
so
that.
open. Yeah, I'm sure.
But no, honestly, I kind of am on the same thought line as you, Sal. What I'm thinking, or at least what I want out of it, because see, for me, I just don't want Ned to be Hobgoblin because I'm just sick of that trope that the best friend becomes the villain. Like
How
I
cliche,
get,
right?
right? Like we've seen it already. I'm over it. Like just make somebody else Hobgoblin if you're gonna do Hobgoblin, or just bring in somebody brand new for once. You already had Falcon like talk to Scorpion. Give us a live action Scorpion, Steve. I know you've been saying you've been wanting to see Scorpion for a while, but what I think it's gonna happen is so in No Way Home, we see Tom Holland hit that just super angry moment, like he was gonna kill Green Goblin.
Mhm.
Venom latches on to anger. So I do agree with you. I do think Venom's going to work its way to New York. I think that the first of the new trilogy, because they said this trilogy was Peter Parker's high school years. So that means that now the next three are probably going to be college, if he goes to college or whatever, working at the Daily Bugle. I don't know how they're going to set that up because he's not a photographer in this universe or whatever. But I think that they will meet up. I think they will come together. I do think that we'll get Miles Morales, but I don't think we'll get him until the second, maybe not even until the third and final Tom Holland movie. Because I think the first one's going to be Venom will be the villain. The second one, I would love to see them bring back a Carnage to have basically the trilogy follow the Ultimate Carnage storyline. So Miles Morales would have to come back in the third one to help Tom Holland defeat Venom. So it'd basically be Venom, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man versus Carnage.
Yeah.
And I would, and that's how in my dream world that trilogy would play out.
All right. So remember this, Marvel. You heard it here first.
I just gave you an entire story.
Kevin Feige, if you're interested.
I don't even need much. Just give me like free McDonald's for like my life.
Just the right carpet viewing, man. That's all.
Right? Yeah, like give me like my little name in like the most tiniest font, just at the very bottom of
the credits.
The guy that gave us the idea.
I honestly think an absolute
loosely
Carnage
based on.
Well, Mark, you and I had this conversation like a week ago. Having like an absolute Carnage, even if you did like a what if animated type series, I would love to see that.
I want them to just bring him back. I thought Woody Harrelson did a fantastic job.
I think he did too.
Carnage.
I think it
would
be
Carnage.
Fantastic, but like that, even if they did it as like a series on Disney Plus, it would be awesome because it shows you how Carnage attaches himself to Captain Marvel, fucking Captain America, like all of these different characters that are in the Marvel universe that you know and love. And that's another like what if style series. What if Captain Marvel was taken over by a symbiote? Yeah. Like we have most of the Absolute Carnage series between the two of us, right?
Yeah. Or a storyline I would really love to see them do.
The King in Black. That would be awesome.
I mean, What If was such a hit too. I mean, I feel like that's not the last we're going to see like an 8-piece.
Oh, absolutely not.
And it's all going to come together like it did in the last one. So I'm sure they're probably all work. Like whenever there's a Marvel lull, just hit us with like 7 episodes of What If, and I'm totally fine with it.
There's a huge rumor too. Yeah.
Because we never got a Gamora episode. We got everybody else that was in the lineup, but we never got Gamora's, and because it was spoiled everything that they were going to do in the future. Sorry, John, didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're good, man. Now, there's actually rumors that in the next Doctor Strange, that a lot of the what if characters and the what if events are actually going to and Spider-Verse are actually going to take place in the multiverse.
That'd be amazing.
So I think this movie is definitely underplayed right now. I think this is going to become not to really go off of the No Way Home right now, but I think Doctor Strange's second movie is going to be a huge hit, and I think it's definitely undersold right now. And I think it's undersold for a reason. One, because No Way Home had to be the hit that Marvel needed for the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But two, I think they're really underselling it. And once they threw that commercial in at the end of the second post credit, I think people are starting to realize like, wow, this thing is about to blow up.
Yeah. I mean, and looking forward to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Ant-Man Quantumania. Now in phase 4, we're not just getting multiverses, we are getting quantum verses. So now we're taking this and we're just blowing it sky high. Like there's no limits to what is possible now in the MCU. And I think that's Kevin Feige's way of saying we're not going anywhere. We are a staple in the superhero movie community.
So how did you guys feel about Charlie Cox in like the first 5 minutes of the film?
Huge
Like
drop.
they had no build up, no thing. They just showed the cane, and that's all they showed. Had to
Oh
show
my
for the
gosh.
show. I was like, okay, I see what you did now, because they introduced him and Kingpin in the Hawkeye series in the same way.
Same week.
Same week and the
Yeah.
same way. The first thing you see are their canes, and then you see their physical being.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll say it was perfect, even for people that don't really know the Daredevil series. It was perfect how they
I'm
introduced it.
rewatching it now.
I
I am. Me and Danielle watched the first episode yesterday, and then with Christmas and everything, we got busy. But I'm rewatching it. Like that's honestly, I think when as far as series go, that's just TV shows.
yeah.
I loved how they did Daredevil.
That was a great series.
Even my buddy was like, "Man, is that Daredevil, man?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. He's got his own TV series and everything."
I'm interested to see how how he's put into it. Like, did everything we see in that TV series and Defenders and all that, did that already happen?
That's a good
Or is
question.
it kind of just, as a viewer, his backstory, they'll give us a little caveat and something else. But like when you see him sitting down there and he's like saying, you need a really good lawyer, and he catches the brick and he's like, oh, how'd you do that? I'm a really good lawyer. Like my theater, I don't know about you guys, but I went to an IMAX theater with like 14 of my friends. Like we just had a whole line, and I thought it was just my friends. And then like the entire theater was just like screaming and cheering when he like caught the brick. And even when he like showed up on screen. So like, was your guys' theaters like
absolutely
animated? I
So
feel
I
like
had-
it has to be like, because I was a Thursday night, like it was that day it came out, so it was all the super fans going there. So
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I can only
went
imagine
earlier
what
on
IMAXs too.
I went earlier on a Sunday to an IMAX, so it was like a younger crowd, but like they still knew like they didn't know that kind of stuff. But like as far as like the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield facts, like they kind of knew. Like when Toby got stabbed, like it wasn't, oh my god, they stabbed Spider-Man. The kid literally screamed like, Toby, no! like so like they know like Tobey Maguire, they knew Andrew Garfield. But the one thing that I've read early reports on is he's going to be mostly featured and introduced in the She-Hulk series.
Okay.
Because I think she's a lawyer too, or she's a cop, or she's
Oh, that'd
something.
be great.
She's something like that. So you will see him as a lawyer, and you will see him in the suit in the She-Hulk series, according to early reports.
So since we were referencing other things than the little Easter eggs that we noticed, do you remember?
The identity meme?
Oh, no, not even that. I was just going to talk about, do you remember in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man when he gets cut by the Green Goblin and he's like on the roof, but it was his arm that got cut? It's the same arm that he cuts on Tom Holland when they're fighting on top of Cap's shield in the same spot, like with the same type of blade. And I was like, little things like that, like everything that they did in this movie, all the references, all of like the little Easter eggs, like Marvel is so well equipped for things like that. It is scary.
those writers are insane. I didn't even notice that.
I definitely predicted though Andrew Garfield was going to be the one to save MJ.
Oh,
Go back, re-listen. I called it almost to the detail. I don't think I said that. I said something was going to happen to Tom Holland, but I didn't specifically say Green Goblin. But I called it, man.
That moment like put me right in my feels. Like when he went for it, everyone in the theater just immediately was like, not again. Like it was just it was like a story arc complete right there for him. It was funny.
That was huge.
Oh my god.
And the fact that this time he focused not on the webbing, but on the actual like leap off of the tower. Because the first time when he focused on like dodging all the clock tower parts and webbing up MJ to stop her, this time you see him like think, and then he sort of does like a fast dive down to catch her because he knew that's the only way that he was going to be able to save her.
You could tell that he replayed that 1,000 times in his head and
absolutely.
just needed the redemption.
Oh, the emotion out of him too. I mean, the emotion where when they actually finally got down, he was like, "Oh my god, I did it! I at least I saved it, MJ."
Yeah.
And that was magical. That was a masterpiece right there.
Yes. And then, I mean, just everything that they did with the three Spider-Men, like, first of all, the callbacks to a couple different movies at this point. So when Tom Holland's like, I've worked with a team before. I was part of the Avengers. And he's like, oh, that's cool. What are the Avengers? And Andrew Garfield's like, is that a band? That is a Bruce Banner reference from Infinity War when he's talking to Tony Stark and he's like, we broke up. He's like, you mean like a band, like the Beatles?
Oh yeah.
The amount of Easter eggs in this one, it's amazing.
Shit like that. Like, it's just, they go so in depth with this shit. Like, there was nothing that, and I swear to God, like, they must pay 1,000 people to sit in a room with every single script from every other movie and go, all right, this would work. And just like throw it on the storyboard. We'll figure it out later, guys. We're going to put that in there. And like, it's just, everything connects. And that's what I love about the MCU.
Well, it was such a meta movie too. Like it was 100% acknowledging, like, dude, this is just an absurd concept that we're doing, and we're just gonna run with it.
Yep.
Like when they're all in the lab or whatever, and Toby's like, yeah, you know, MJ's really sweet or something. And Tom Holland kind of looks at him like, dude, like, you're way older than. He's like, oh no, like my MJ, like Mary Jane. And then, but I still think that was just like, all I can think of is, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the movie now. The one with Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston, where he's a drug dealer and they're in the
We're the Millers.
Yeah, all I can think is the We're the Millers. When he's like, yeah, like I fought an alien, I was in space. He's like, oh, I fought an alien, but I never went to space. And Toby's like, I'm still just trying to get past. You were in space. Like all I can think of is like, yeah, you told me you're paying me 50,000. What? You're getting 50. I'm only getting 10. You guys are getting paid. Like, and then you had the identity meme when they're like Peter, and they all point to each other. Like,
oh, my theater erupted in the. They did it kind of in the science lab, and then that time when they were on the Statue of Liberty, oh, it was amazing.
Oh, that was so good. And I liked how Tom Holland, when they were swinging around the Statue of Liberty, they both connected to Tom Holland, and he threw them up.
Yes,
like that shit. Like, dude, it's just fucking wild. And again, this movie, I can look past the plot holes because it was a cinematic masterpiece. Like, nothing about this movie that I say like, oh, that was shit. Like, it was just good.
And that's where I am. Like, I'm no way am I saying that this was a bad movie. For me, it just wasn't the masterpiece I think everyone's saying it was. Like, it was one of the best movies of Marvel, hands down. But it has its flaws, like you guys have pointed out. That's along with me. It has some flaws.
Sure. So now let me ask you this question. I'm posing it to everyone. We watched the Morbius trailer. I'm sure if you saw the Spider-Man in theaters, you probably saw the trailer beforehand.
Right.
Vulture was there, but if it's not Vulture from Tom Holland's universe, is it still the Vulture? Is it an alternate universe Vulture?
That's a good question. Oh,
I think it's definitely an alternate universe Toomes.
Yeah.
But unless they're just straight up, I mean, they acknowledge Superman, so DC exists in the MCU. So I mean, maybe it's just Bruce Wayne.
Can we set up? Can we first of all set up a Marvel Batman versus DC fucking movie? Like, let's get that going.
Maybe way down the line, that's what they're shooting for.
We'll finally get Man-Bat.
Yeah, we'll get Kevin Feige. We'll get Zack Snyder. Fuck everybody else. Like, we'll get that going.
John Favreau.
Absolutely, John Favreau.
You need Johnny Boy in there.
So I have kind of like a weird theory with Morbius. Maybe it's just like a fan theory, but I think that the snap happened in this theory. I think it's the MCU ultimately, but I think that it starts in the MCU. And then when Doctor Strange messes up the spell, I think that we shoot over to Sony's universe and like Vulture comes over. So it's MCU's Vulture in like Garfield's universe.
In Sony's universe. So it's inverted.
Yeah. Inverted, and then maybe they'll find a way to like just flip a couple of characters back to MCU kind of thing. Because I mean, you saw the wallpaper with Spider-Man, you saw Vulture, and then you see him talk about I'm Venom, like that joke at the end of the movie, like I'm Venom, and he's like, no, just kidding, I'm Doctor whatever.
Yeah, and they reference the incident in San Francisco too. So it's like, okay, so the events of Venom have already happened in Morbius, and Morbius knows who Venom is. So and that's where I'm wondering if maybe in the Andrew Garfield, like maybe Morbius is set up to be the villain, but then it really turns out to be like Venom. So now you got Morbius and Andrew Garfield versus Venom type of a thing.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That was the end of my trail of thought.
Wasn't there a either like a poster or
There's
something?
graffiti of Spider-Man on the wall in the trailer
saying murder.
Well, and that's what I mean. That's why everybody was thinking that it was Tom Holland. However, at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, technically he killed Gwen Stacy and Electro.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in reality, all of them could be considered murderers. Because even at the end of Spider-Man 3 or whatever, I mean, you still have, James Franco ends up dead, and so is Topher Grace. So really, that could be any of them. And now, so ready, Sal, you're a huge Spider-Man fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts of that closing scene with the traditional red and blue suit going across New York and the Christmas tree out front of Rockefeller Center, I think it is.
Yeah. So I think leading up to that scene, I have to mention the bakery scene where your heart's getting ripped out of your chest when you see Ned and MJ, and he has that note, and he realizes like, maybe their lives are better, without me, kind of thing. So I'm devastated watching the scene. Like, I think when I go watch the movie again, I might leave before that scene because it really so I'm upset, and he puts the Lego Emperor on his dorm or on his apartment thing. And I'm like, I'm really in my feels. And then he breaks out the suit, and it's the combination of Toby and Garfield, just the classic red and blue, just like when you're 10 years old, you play your first Spider-Man video game, like that's what you're picturing. Like that's the blanket you have in your house. Like that's the red and blue. And the fact that he went back to that, knowing like he didn't have like the Stark tech or anything like that, it just made me feel like, damn, like he's going back to his roots, and these next movies are about to be insane. And it's just a quick little swing too. You don't really get the full suit. You don't see the full suit, but your just imagination is just like, it just, that peak low that I was at after watching all that sad stuff, it just shot me right back up. Just like amazing.
All right. So if you are a longtime listener, and Sal, you said you already know what my ongoing fan theory is for pretty much everything in Phase 4.
Here we go.
The train.
We are riding the train, baby.
Oh man,
it's the Mephisto train. So here we go. Peter Parker goes to his first day of school. There is a sign outside that says "The Devil in Disguise" with Peter Parker on it. There is a comic book series called One More Day where Mephisto erases everyone in the world's memory that Peter Parker existed. This could just be an Easter egg. I'm just throwing it out there. That is canon. That exists. Just saying. Mephisto train.
Till the wheels fall off.
Goddamn right. But I'm throwing it out there. We should
just wait till Phase 5, man. I mean, we just got Kingpin now in the universe. We have the Sinister Six existing in the universe.
Yes, dude, I'm so excited for that.
You guys like the sixth one, huh?
Like we got Venom. We have so many people. Freaking Kang the Conqueror's out there. Like, I don't think they're focusing on Mephisto anytime soon.
I know. That is going to be. I'm going to die on that hill. I don't care. I'm going to see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and I'm going to find a Mephisto reference. I found one in Hawkeye. There's a 6 on the watch.
So I actually have a
6
big
3 times
about Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I'll save that for that episode. But let's just say I think it's going to be a tag team fight rather than a 2-on-1 fight.
Okay. And you and I think briefly spoke about this yesterday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So super excited. I mean, this, like I said, I can't say enough good things about this movie.
Marvel's doing everything right now.
Oh, absolutely. Marvel is crushing it right now. They are dropping things at the correct times. They are releasing these trailers it was something, and I texted Sal a few times, like just throughout the timeline between when you found out No Way Home existed and when No Way Home like dropped its first trailer. Like, we were trying to figure out like what the trailers were going to be about, how many trailers they're going to drop, when are they going to drop them. And I liked what they did with this. they didn't give
What are you doing, Steve?
they didn't give too much in the trailer. They weren't like, oh my God, like, this is exactly what's going to happen. They gave you tidbits here and there. I mean, it was mostly, I'm going to say social media that not ruined it, but like gave away a lot of it. Andrew Molina admitted he was going to be on there. Jamie Foxx admitted he was coming back, like Willem Dafoe. I'm so glad that Andrew Garfield lied to like the entire universe. Like I'll never trust another thing he says ever again.
And he absolutely can.
But I appreciate it.
Just to piggyback off that, I wholeheartely agree with Mark. Infinity War is my number one Marvel movie. Spider-Man No Way Home's got to be top 4 for me. But during quarantine, you're post Endgame, you're like Black Widow's getting pushed back. You have no idea where the MCU is going with it. Not that you have a doubt, but you're like, I mean, are like, is the X-Men going to come in here? Like, I don't know how they're going to go with this. And then they hit you with What If, they hit you with the Loki, they hit you with all these things where now your imagination is back to being endless possibilities, just like it was 3 years ago, pre-Infinity War. And Steve, I think you said it best. Like, they are one of the best story writers in the world, and it's only going to go up for here. And I'm just really excited for the ride.
Definitely. So in our closing thoughts here, what we like to do on Something Super is we like to give it ratings out of a 10. So Sal, I'll let you start.
You're going to let me start? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So being is that Infinity War for me was like a 9.5, 9.6. I'm going to give Spider-Man No Way Home an 9.2.
Okay. Awesome. Starting high with a 9.2. John?
9.6.
9.6. All right. Coming out
it's
heavy.
Literally, it's a top 3. It's a top 3.
Okay. Mark?
4. Nah.
4.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Nah. I would probably have to go somewhere around like a 9, somewhere around Sal, like a 9.1, 9.2 for me, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm falling right in there. I'm probably like a 9.2. And it's, again, I have my plot holes, I have my reasons, but overall, like looking at that movie, it's just like Iron Man for me. I don't think I'm gonna get tired of watching that movie.
Nah, for me, that's a rating that can change because it's like the first or third movie early in a phase. So like depending on how they fill in some of these plot holes, like maybe it jumps to a 9.7 because oh shit, they were planning it since here. Yeah. Or maybe it stays a 9.2 because it's like, yeah, they just straight up ignored that shit and just swept it under the rug. Like it never happened. Like
absolutely. I mean, I'll give it an 11 out of 10 if they reveal Mephisto. I'm just throwing this out there.
You heard it, Kevin Feige. Just give Steve Mephisto and you get everything.
Hand over Mephisto and it's yours.
Mephisto might have secretly been in there. You never know.
He was secretly in everything. Everything in phase 4 so far, I will tie a Mephisto reference to.
That's how Marvel ends. Really, everybody were Skrulls or Mephisto.
Everyone's Mephisto.
There was never actually an Avengers. They were all Skrulls fighting Mephisto as the T'Charlie.
That's fantastic. All right. So to wrap this up, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Something Super Podcast, at SS Podcast 52 on Twitter. We are on all of your major streaming apps, Anchor. As always, thank you so much for hosting us. Lastly, I'm Steve.
I'm Mark.
And I'm John.
I'm Sal.
And guys, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.